The former football star George Weah has won Liberia's presidential election, defeating the vice president, Joseph Boakai, in a runoff with 61.5% of the vote. Thursday's announcement by the country's election commission chair, Jerome Korkoya, means Weah will succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as Liberia's president next month, after an election fraught with accusations of fraud and irregularities. It will be the country's first democratic transition since 1944 and follows two devastating civil wars. The commission said Weah had taken 61.5% of the vote, based on 98.1% of ballots cast. Spontaneous celebrations erupted in the capital, Monrovia, a Weah stronghold. Supporters danced, clapped, and sang "Ole, Ole, Ole" outside the Electoral Commission's offices as the results were read out. Weah, a national sporting hero, topped the first round of voting in October with 38.4% but failed to win the 50% necessary to avoid a runoff. Boakai came second with 28.8%. The runoff was delayed twice after several parties took their allegations of malpractice to the Supreme Court, but it finally took place with a low turnout on December 26. Weah, 51, is the only African to be FIFA's World Player of the Year or to have won the Ballon d'Or for Europe's best player. At the time, Nelson Mandela called him the "pride of Africa." Weah played for Paris Saint-Germain and AC Milan in the 1990s before moving to England late in his career for spells at Chelsea and Manchester City. His was already an inspirational story to a generation of Africans. He grew up in Claratown, a poor suburb of Monrovia, and played football across the river in West Point, Liberia's biggest informal settlement, where he still has a large fanbase. Many see his becoming president as a fitting next chapter in the rags to riches fairytale and one that gives them hope. "I know in him we can get a better Liberia," said Doma Johnson, a supporter of his party, the Congress for Democratic Change. "With George, he will empower the youth, the women, and will develop the country." Saki Benson, a shopkeeper in central Monrovia, agreed. "George Weah will do well when he takes power," he said. "Things will change, roads will be constructed and our schools will be better." Weah's road to the presidency has been long. He lost to Sirleaf, the first female elected head of state in Africa, in 2005, and then, as running mate to William Tubman, he lost again in 2011. But even if it has taken him 12 years, winning the presidency is just the beginning of probably the toughest game of Weah's career. An estimated 250,000 people died during two back-to-back civil wars between 1989 to 2003 and, more recently, Liberia suffered a devastating Ebola outbreak. The country is extremely poor, more than 80% of people live on less than $1.25, 93p, a day, and hundreds of thousands of children are out of school. Not everyone is convinced Weah is the man for the job. Kawolo Suo, a Monrovia resident, said Weah would only look after his supporters and that would set him against the Liberian people. "I foresee economic hardship, yet the country will not go to war," he said.